Thank you all for joining us. And we are certainly glad that you are here with us today as we talk about elevating advising. And we're going to be celebrating some of the successes of this year's uh, happenings through CPE. So if you all will give me a minute because I have somehow managed to lose my video, I will get that pulled up. All right. Can you all see that now? Can you all see my video? Heather, if you can come off mute and
No,
let
we
me know because
cannot.
I can, it's not showing.
No.
So what's going on here? This is why you leave it to the professionals. Maybe Heather should have shared my video. Um, it's not giving me the option, Heather. So wait a minute. Here we go. Now, how about that?
We see a screen sharing. Yes, we do.
All right. Sorry about that, you all. Gotta love technology. Um, I don't know if it's technology or the user, but either way, we are glad you are here with us today, and we are excited to talk to you about, first of all, some new additions to Futurity. We have Trey Pippin with us today. He's the Program Director of Outreach and Partnerships for the Kentucky Council on Postsecondary Education. And he is going to be sharing some futurity updates. And then Susie and I will be back with you to share the post-secondary advising scope and sequence and give you all the details of it and how you can join us for workshops in May and June. So I'm going to stop sharing and let Trey share his screen so he can share with you the latest futurity updates.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm happy to be here, and I'm really grateful that Mitzi has given me the chance to come and talk with you all. I will give you a little disclaimer. I'm over in Owensboro, and I see some Owensboro people on the webinar. And for the first time in nearly 14 months since our catastrophic hailstorm, we are getting siding on our house over here today. So you might hear some banging or mashing, or who knows, maybe the internet will go out. I hope that's not the case. So, like Mitzi said, my name's Trey Pippin. I'm the Program Director of Outreach and Partnerships for the Kentucky Council on Post-Secondary Education. And one of the primary things that I get to do is work on Futurity. So, hopefully, you all know about futurity.org. But if you don't, I'm going to give you a quick little rundown of what Futurity looks like before I show you one of the profile, kind of one of the things we're excited about that we just launched as an update. So here is the homepage of Futurity. So if you are working with students, we've made this as simple as possible for you to get them to the right place. So we've redesigned our homepage to say I am a, and they can come in and choose who they are. So let's say that they are an 11th or 12th grade high schooler and they are looking for all sorts of different things that resources that are available here on Futurity for them. So the cornerstone of Futurity for us is what we call our Future Finder, which is where our Kentucky Stats, KY Stats data exists. So on Futurity, your students can look at over 700 careers that are available with Kentucky specific data so they can investigate and explore what different jobs look like. One of the things that's really cool and one of the things that makes us most proud of Futurity is that all of the information in here is going to be Kentucky specific. So when students are looking at wage data or projected employment, they're going to find real Kentucky numbers for what they can expect to earn or how employment looks like over the next few years. So on Futurity, as students are investigating, they can find programs and schools with related majors, and they can go in and even find registered apprenticeships to match them up with the careers that they're interested in. So, like I said, over 700 different careers here that they can explore and even search by education level. Another thing that they can do is search majors. So they can go into specific universities and colleges in Kentucky and find majors that they're interested in where they can find information like median loan debt after graduation, median wages after they complete, and how many years it's taken for people to complete programs. So all of these are really important tools for our students as they're investigating what they're looking to do in their life. Because what we want to do, obviously, is make sure that not only are they making informed decisions based on real Kentucky data, but they have real information that lets them make those decisions on colleges and majors and programs and pathways. Colleges are all listed on here as well. And one of the things that I'm super excited to share with you today is that we have just launched Kentucky's only digital database for scholarships and grants across the Commonwealth. So students can look on here and see exactly what scholarships are available for them at each of the universities. But I will say these are our big institutional scholarships. We're not going to find the Kentucky Dog Lover Association of Davis County $200 scholarship on here. These are going to be our larger institutional scholarships that you can point your students to on here. So one of the things I said I was going to show is our newly launched career quiz. We're super excited about this and how it's allowing our students to be paired with high demand careers. So I'm going to show you just quickly what it looks like to go through here. We've updated the user interface, and obviously, as I'm running through here, these are not going to be my real answers. It's amazing because every day I get matched with new careers that I might be interested in by my quick click-throughs here. But we've designed this, in this case, to be realistic. Now, if you ask my wife, is Trey realistic? She would probably laugh in your face. Trey's not a realistic. But you can go through and students can see their results here on all of their different outcomes. And the cool thing about this is that it's going to match them with high demand Kentucky jobs based on their results. So here they can see, in this case, a civil engineer. It's a high demand field in Kentucky. It's going to match that realistic result that I had up here. And then it's going to show me those real Kentucky wages. It's going to show me that I need a bachelor's degree to be a civil engineer. And then it's going to show me all the schools that have related majors and programs. So this is a really quick overview of what Futurity looks like. And then students can download their results here. So that's really important too. So they can share those with career advisors or as they're talking to guidance counselors or meeting with their advisors at the college level. So look, somebody gave me a little thing. I appreciate that. I am the futurity guy, right? So I love to talk about futurity. I love to talk about ways that we can integrate this in your planning and your student advising. So if you would like to reach out to me, I would be happy to come and talk to your groups, happy to come and talk to any of your students. I'm always happy to do that. So again, my name's Trey Pippin. I'm with the Kentucky Council on Post-Secondary Education. And I'm going to put all my information in the chat for you guys. So have a great day, everybody. And I appreciate you again, Mitzi, Susie, for having me on and let me talk about Futurity. Oh, one thing I forgot to say, the most important thing. Futurity is completely free. It is for Kentucky by Kentucky. There's no cost to any of your programs or your students. So I can't believe I forgot that, but free, free, free.
Thank you, Trey. We
Welcome.
appreciate it very much. And I know that you are willing to support practitioners in any way that you can. So I do encourage you all, if you have questions, comments, or just want to know more about Futurity, to reach out to Trey. He can put his contact information in the chat. And at any time during today's webinar, if you have questions, please feel free to drop those in the chat too. So thank you for being with us today, Trey. We appreciate you. All right, so back to our scope and sequence. And let me, whoops, get that right screen pulled up here. All right, so Susie, take it away.
All right. Hi, I'm Susie Burkhart. I'm a senior fellow at Council of Post-Secondary Education and working with Mitzi with the Kentucky Advising Academy. We've had a great year developing the scope and sequence and are really enjoying this spring rolling it out to schools. And Mitzi will be sharing some information about how your school district might be able to receive some training or your counseling staff or whoever. But we want to start just talking about advising in today's culture in today's world. And so this map here on the screen, it comes out of Australia. So if you look really close at some of those icons, they're definitely not Kentucky specific, as Trey mentioned in his resource, which is very important. But this is a great visual to show. This happens to be the area of graphic designer. And again, this comes from myfutures.org, which is out of Australia. But it really shows a typical path of a student is that light a blue line through the middle where the student goes to high school. They kind of know what they want to do. They go and they major, they get a bachelor's degree in the area. They start doing some work. They eventually, get into the field and become a graphic designer. But what I love about the resource or these visuals from myfutures.org is that it shows some alternative paths to getting to that field. And so you'll see that top path, the student is obviously interested in music. They complete their high school. They have some gap time. The student goes to Cambodia. And then they work in different areas. The student actually gets a job in education and eventually becomes a learning designer, graphic designer in the field. But over the course of a different pathway. And so the bottom one, this student just completed year 10 and received a certificate in digital media and technology from the high school. And obviously in Australia, students can start some internships and things after grade 10. So this student went kind of an alternative path. There's even a point on here, I'm trying to remember where it is, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, the student on the very bottom, right here, you can see where it says unemployed. So the student was unemployed for some time. And I think that really honors the true pathway for some students is that that is a reality in our current climate that a student may experience unemployment. And I think it's fair for students to understand that the path is not the same for every student. And so we use this to kind of kick off our scope and sequence work because our goal for the scope and sequence for the advising scope and sequence is that we show students the path after high school is not going to be the same for everyone. And for a long time, I think we sold, it's either college or career. But what we do know is that students need to have advising while they have support in high school so that when they get out of high school, they know that the path can be winding, it can be different, and that's okay. And so I hope that this helps to set the stage for what we know our students are going to experience rather than kind of an ideal situation for students. Actually, in the scope and sequence, the 12th grade career explorations lesson plan focuses on these maps and has kids design maps after interviewing people. So yeah, so I just want to share that with you to get us started.
Thank you, Susie. And it is very helpful to always be mindful that that life does have a lot of on and off ramps, and the journey to a successful career looks very different for each of us. So appreciate you sharing that with us. So I wanted to just share that through the work of the Kentucky Advising Academy, we found that most people do believe that advising is essential, but it is difficult to manage. And the advising scope and sequence does provide a foundation for sharing the work of advising across your school to impact students' post-secondary confidence and success. So really it moves advising from a counselor suite to the classroom. The scope and sequence was designed through a feedback cycle, and it's designed to be a foundation for consistent advising. It aligns to the outcomes for students in grades 6 through 12, the outcomes that they need to be well informed about their college and career journey. And it provides the tools needed to enhance your post-secondary advising system as it relates to career exploration, post-secondary opportunities, financial aid and literacy, and essential skills. And as we move through this scope and sequence, again, I want to encourage you to ask questions. Drop those in the chat because we certainly want to answer any questions that you may have. The post-secondary advising scope and sequence is broken down into a middle school piece and a high school piece. The high school is broken down into grades 9, 10, and 11, 12. And then we have resources to support that scope and sequence that includes lesson plans, again, for grades 6 through 12 in those 4 categories. So again, I'm going to stop sharing and well, no, let me back up. I'm going to show you one more slide. This is how you will access the scope and sequence. And Susie will actually walk you through that. So Heather will drop that information into the chat, and then Susie will walk you through how to access it.
Thanks, Mitzi. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to walk you through the resource. Let's see. All right, just making sure everybody can see my screen. I should be on Futurity. Is that what you guys are seeing?
That is it.
Okay, great. I want to start out, as Trey mentioned, these resources are free. And so, and Mitzi and I've been going around the state a little bit recently, sharing the resource. Some of the questions that come out are, well, how much does it cost? And, so really important to know these are free resources for you to use at your will. So that's great news. So I'm going to show you how to access the scope and sequence that we created. You're going to again you're going to access it through Futurity, and you're going to go to these drop downs here that Trey mentioned earlier. I'm going to do the counselor educator, and you will see one of the choices is the post-secondary advising scope and sequence, and that will take you right to it. Here we go. I'm just going to walk you through. So it's a roadmap here, and then Trey's done a great job of putting this up on Futurity, giving some background information. The scope and sequence does cover the four areas that we feel are essential for a well-rounded knowledge of what's to come after high school, and that's career exploration, post-secondary opportunities, financial aid and literacy, and essential skills. And I'm going to go into that more when I download them for you. So we're going to look first at the middle school, and show you go down here where it says middle school grades 6 through 8. View the middle school guide. We're going to download that, and then we'll come right up, and then we'll take a look at this. So the middle school scope and sequence is grades 6 through 8, and the focus is this roadmap here: education, preparation, and application toward high school. And it grows as students progress through middle school. Again, all the work in our scope and sequence, grades 6 through 12, always focuses on these four core areas: career exploration, post-secondary opportunities, financial aid and literacy, and essential skills. And so the middle school one starts with this description of the monthly focus, which I'll show you in just a minute. But we felt like with middle school that potentially you might get more bang for your buck to have like a monthly vision for your post-secondary work with students. So the way that this is laid out has a monthly focus and a grade level page for each grade. So let's take a look at that. This is the monthly advising focus. And again, just reminding you, these icons represent those four areas. And then what we have here, and this is just a suggestion, you do not have to use this resource as a monthly rollout. We'll talk about that later, but there's lots of ways that you can roll out the scope and sequence. We felt like that this would be a good example for middle school. And so anytime that there's a green dot underneath, that will link directly to a lesson plan. So you can see these are live links. And if you can do the math, there's four areas. And I don't know if I said it before, but there's one lesson plan for each area in each grade level. So there's four lesson plans for sixth grade, four for seventh, four for eighth, one in each of the areas. And these are derived from the Kentucky Advising Academy milestones. So Mitzi and some other folks worked on the Kentucky Advising toolkit. And it is very expansive, a very great resource, but it is big. And so the scope and sequence is an attempt to kind of synthesize and get down to that essential milestone for each grade level. And so a lesson plan was created for each of those milestones from the toolkit. So anybody who's on the call today who's familiar with the toolkit and familiar with the milestone page, this just extends that work. And so if you see a purple dot, that means that there's not, because there's not enough lesson plans to cover every month. So that would mean seventh grade in November, you could substitute your own lesson plan there, or you could look at a seventh grade lesson plan that has extensions on it. All of the lesson plans have some extensions, and you could just provide an extension under here for social networking. So this is the monthly rollout. In addition to the four lesson plans each grade level. There's really a fifth for each grade level, and that's going to happen in September of every year or August for high school. And that is a career and interest inventory that students can take. We recommend that students 6 through 12 take a career interest or a strength survey annually. We all know that students grow and change. We hope they do between 6th and 12th grade. And as students start to hone in on their strengths and their career interests between 6th and 12th grade. And the lesson plans are designed to create some of that honing in. We can talk about that a little bit later. So as Trey mentioned, Futurity has launched a career interest inventory that can be used. And this lesson plan here for the beginning of the year, the fifth lesson plan, has some other interest inventories linked as well. So that's the calendar approach for middle school. Again, just a suggestion for rollout, not necessary that you have to do it that way. Each lesson plan that's linked here for each area looks the same. So this happens to be the extracurricular carousel lesson plan for 7th grade career exploration. And so the lesson plan always is linked to career studies standards, to those advising milestones from the Kentucky Advising Academy. We'll have some guiding questions and some suggested timelines. So it always starts out with prior to lesson plan, prepare in advance. So that's for our teachers to know like what they might need to do in advance. And everything is linked that they need. And I'm going to open a high school lesson plan in a minute to show you that. There's also the aligned lesson plans show up on the matrix. So this is the 6th grade planning matrix. And so each grade level, 6 through 12, has a matrix like this. Again, we've got our overall outcome, we've got guiding questions for the grade level, and then we have the learner objectives for each of the 4 areas that we mentioned. The learning experience for the area, and then the evidence of learning. And then it's linked to a month for application. I want to talk a minute about evidence of learning. So when we developed the scope and sequence, we really wanted to tie it to ILP completion and helping that to be meaningful for students. And Mitzi's going to talk at the end here about the piece that we created for ILP completion or support of that work. But you will notice that for example, in 6th grade, 3 of the 4 areas in the evidence of learning show some kind of connection to the ILP, that whatever the student is working on in that lesson plan can be uploaded to their ILP as evidence of growth in that area, and they can save it. And I won't get into much into that because Mitzi's going to talk about that in a little bit, but we wanted to have a spot where students could save their work from 6 through 12, because who doesn't love to reflect about themselves as they grow and change? And so as a junior or senior, a student can look back and say, oh, in 7th grade, I was thinking this, that, and the other thing, and really reflect on their own growth and development. Here's our 7th grade matrix, same deal. You can see again, the learner objectives are related to career and financial standards and emotional wellness standards. I might be saying that wrong, but these are the goals for soft skills. 8th grade. And then the end of the middle school scope and sequence has this transition planning guide. We know that every school has a plan for transitioning students, but these are just some suggestions. And obviously you can add some when you download this, you can save it and add your own to this, but just allows you to kind of talk through that with your team. And then suggested advising approaches. Again, we've put the calendar in for the middle school, and I'll talk some more about this when I open the high school one, but there's lots of ways that you can roll this out. We're not dictating how you do it. We're just sharing some resources of what you can do with students to get them across the line, leaving high school confidently with an idea in mind. Also has the resources here at the bottom that are available. I'm going to go back to Futurity. And if you have any questions about anything I've shared so far, just pop those in the chat. And then Mitzi, you can interrupt me should I, need to answer any questions. I want to show you the high school, and then I'll feature some different things as we look at the high school scope and sequence. So again, you're going to go through Futurity. Again, the drop down I used was counselor and then post-secondary advising scope and sequence. And it took me to this page. And background information, which is amazing that Trey got all that on there. And then here's your download for the high school guide. And let's take a look at what that looks like. So the high school looks a little different than the middle school in that the journey is represented as a little road like this. Let me make that a little smaller. Let me minimize this. It was important for us with the high school work. Kids are coming in through middle school to make the ninth and 10th grade focus. If you look at the bottom here, this is very intentional. The investigation and connection are essential in ninth and 10th grade for post-secondary planning. We want kids to start investigating what the high school offers, what are the resources available at high school, investigating themselves as a growing and changing young adult, and then to connect to those resources and to develop partnerships, relationships at their high school as they enter 11th and 12th grade. And this decision and action is also very intentional wording in the scope and sequence. We know that students will not have this kind of support probably ever in their life again. I know that sounds dramatic, but I think it's true. And those of us that work in a high school setting know that there is a lot wrapping around students during their last 2 years of high school. And so the push in the scope and sequence is intentional for kids to start thinking about making a decision and making some actions toward making that decision a reality. A lot of high school students are very nervous about that and they want to delay that action. But what we as educators would love is as every high school senior is traveling across that stage, they have an idea of where their gifts and talents can be applied in career or post-secondary work. And so we know that that road can change, much like that roadmap we shared at the very beginning of the webinar today. But getting kids started on that map is so essential before they leave all the support that's provided at the high school. So making kids aware that we're expecting some decision and action was important in this work. So again, how to use the scope and sequence. The high school is different than the middle school in that it just starts in with the grade level pages. We know that high school, a comprehensive high school is a very complex situation. Not that middle schools aren't, but there's a lot going on at a comprehensive high school. And so we knew that a map for a month would probably be very difficult for a high school to do. So we have left it just at the grade level pages of exploring those 4 areas. And so we'll talk a minute about the way that this could be rolled out at a high school. So again, the company lesson plans for the scope and sequence are linked in the matrix page. Each of these lesson plans is for about a 60-minute lesson plan, and that can be delivered during a class period. It can be, there are natural breaks in the lesson plan. So if you want to do it during a 20-minute advisory and do it like over 2 or 3 days. And there's also extensions if you want to go above and beyond the 60-minute lesson plan in that area. So the 5 lesson plans, which is the 4 areas plus the career survey, can be delivered however your school sees fit. So again, we've got a big outcome for 9th grade. We've got guiding questions for the grade level. We've got learner objectives, again, linked to state standards. And we've got learning experiences. And again, these are the lesson plan topics at an overview. And then each lesson plan here is linked. Again, if you look, you'll see the evidence of learning. You'll see that ILP connection. As kids grow and change, they can start uploading and saving into their own game plan, which Missy's going to share with us in a minute, what that looks like. I would love to show you guys just a quick lesson plan. This one in 10th grade career is a nice one because I want to show you just quickly what the lesson plan looks like for our teachers. So the lesson plans were designed intentionally for anyone in your school to carry out. So these can be taught by CTE teachers, by our content area teachers, by advisors, by our counselors, who have a very large background in this area, but they're written in a way that provides a lot of background for anyone to teach it. We know our counselors have a lot of background in this area and are invested, but we also know that some high school teachers, this might not be their thing. And so we provided a lot of support in the lesson plans, depending on how your school wants to roll it out. So you can see the timeline and sequence, and you can see here, this is for the career interest inventory, which is happening early in the year. And we recommend that happen prior to this lesson. So again, there's an overview in the lesson so teachers can see how much time is involved in each area. This has 5 steps, including the upload to ILP. I want to show you this materials prepare in advance. all of the materials needed for the lesson plan are linked directly in the lesson plan. So I'm going to just show you by opening this career clusters. This actually is a career cluster introduction for 10th grade to help kids decide on a cluster that fits their strengths. So you can see here, I won't open this, but these are the cards that you can use for the sort. And it's got, well, I will go ahead and open it so you can kind of see exactly what it looks like, because it really, you'll be making a copy of it as well. Um, I want you to see how expansive it is. So these are the tabs that students will sort under, but then there's occupation cards that you can cut out, and then students start by sorting these cards underneath the occupation groups. And so all of that is prepared. And if you look at prepare in advance, it suggests that teachers may want to print those in advance and make envelopes or Ziploc baggies for kids to sort those during the activity prior, but you can also have kids cut them if you have time to do that. So most of these lessons have a worksheet also that kids can work on either digitally. You can load it up into your Google Classroom or print it for students. But this is the piece that would be uploaded into their ILP after. So on this one, they choose, during the lesson plan, they choose a career cluster of interest, a career of interest, listing some strengths that coincide with that. And then using futurity, they're looking at salary range and demand for that. They're listing some narrative on why that would be a good choice for them, some post-secondary training, what's needed, what colleges have programs, again, using futurity. So this is all provided in the lesson plan, so teachers don't have to prepare that. I do want to mention that this is the 10th grade lesson plan. The 7th grade career lesson plan is very similar, but it's much broader. So the students are doing a similar activity in 7th grade, but they're choosing 3 career clusters and they're not narrowing in on one. And so I just want to share that because as this scope and sequence, because it is a scope and it is a sequence, unfolds for students, if your district happens to use it during 6 through 12, it will be a building scope for students. And so it's narrowing as they get older. And so here I'm just saying, like, before you start the lesson, you can pull up this Futurity Future Finder so you can have that ready to show students. So then it goes through the learning experience. We've got the closed sort that they do with a partner, tells teachers how to conduct the sort, how to discuss the results. Then they do the career cluster worksheet on their own. And then they go to Futurity Future Finder to look at their career. And then closing the lesson is just directing students to upload their completed worksheet to their game plan or their ILP. And then their evidence of learning is just being able to connect their strengths and interests to a career cluster and maybe a future work environment that they like. And again, this has some extensions here. There's some more futurity work that can be done, some conversation ideas. Here's one where students can write a bio poem. Hi, Missy's suggestion is still there for me to see. So just some different things that students can do in relation to lesson plan. I know that was a lot on that lesson plan, but I wanted to show you how extensive the lesson plan is. And that's just an example of one, and that's for career clusters for 10th grade, career exploration, I'm sorry. So 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, and then at the end of 12th grade, we've got some transition planning for some suggestions for our schools where they can put in the month and then notes on the scope and sequence and can add your own to personalize it. I really want to talk just a minute about Appendix A. This is in the middle school and high school, but there's many ways that you can roll this out at your school. So we know that every school has its own culture, own admin focus, instructional focus. And that's part of the reason that Mitzi and I are really pushing into our cooperatives this spring to offer workshops, which Mitzi's going to tell you about later, because we want schools to be able to carry this information back to their admin team to say, how would we want to roll this out? This is really great stuff. It's free. It's going to help our students align for post-secondary. So obviously, we love every school to have a school-wide culture. And what that can look like is just a school-wide effort of making post-secondary and career planning part of just the environment at your school. Obviously, our school counseling office can carry the load, but we know that doesn't work in terms of an in-depth approach because it's just one person. But our counselors can definitely push in and support advising, focus, and those kinds of things. So we've also got core and elective teachers. So we've had some of our workshops teachers that said, hey, those financial literacy, those 4 lesson plans could be in our math classes. And hey, those post-secondary opportunities, our English teachers might be able to handle those through the year if we talk about where those might fall. So just different ways of using your staff. And obviously, CTE teachers would be great for career exploration or even the essential skills section, but leveraging some of the opportunities that our CTE teachers have for extracurricular and CTSOs for connections, work-based learning, in helping kids get ready for their post-secondary journey. And again, we have the additional resources at the bottom. So I'm going to stop sharing because that was a lot of talking. But if anybody has any questions, feel free to pop those in the chat. I know that was a lot, but that's really just a 10,000-foot view of what Mitzi and I are going to be providing this spring and summer through our co-ops, and Mitzi will share those opportunities with you in a few minutes. So thanks for hanging with me on all the talking, and thanks for the clapping and the tooting horns and the hearts. Yay! We really
Thank
enjoyed making this resource and have really enjoyed just the idea about, by senior year, kids really having a confident understanding of themselves and what's available to them, and really pulling our staff at our middle schools and high schools together to say, like, hey, this might not be what I studied. I didn't study to be a guidance counselor, but I know my work. My work as an English teacher is going out to the workforce. And so helping our students understand themselves and understand their opportunities is just joy. I mean, it's just work in the area of joy for me, at least. And I know the counselors on the call feel the same way. So back to you, Mitzi.
Thank you, Susie, for that overview of all the pieces of the scope and sequence. Um, as she said, that is a very high level overview, and we do offer some workshops and professional learning opportunities that we'll be sharing with you here in just a minute. So I'm going to go back to sharing my screen and show you the game plan template that Susie referenced. So let me pull that over. You can access the um, game plan template if you are on the futurity page that Susie directed you to, and you scroll down to additional resources. There is a link for student game plan template, and you can click and download that. You will need to make a copy of that in order to be able to edit it, but just go to file and make copy. So I already have it downloaded just for sake of time, but Susie mentioned multiple times in the lesson plans, there's an opportunity for students to submit their evidence of learning to a template so that there is a place to house all of that, and they can see from 6th grade through 12th grade their progression, and it gives opportunity for them to go back and reflect. So this is the example of the game plan template. And Heather, I think, also dropped the link in the chat should you want to access it that way. But the game plan template is designed to be owned by the student. The document is for the student. It gives them an opportunity to really think about who they are as far as what they like to do, careers that they might be interested in, and what their vision for life is. As you notice on this game plan template, there are opportunities to link to different tabs, and I'm going to walk you through those tabs, but it is very intentionally designed to be interconnected and really personalized by the student. We want them to be able to drop in their selfie and make this theirs. The first tab is the career interest tab. And again, this is related to the lesson plans where they're actually taking career interest inventories and things like that. It does link to some on futurity and different places, and there's an opportunity for them to retake them from 6th through 12th grade. Always want space for students to reflect and think about what they learned, what interests them, what they're good at, specific careers that might be related to their interests, and then an opportunity for them to think about post-secondary options. There is a drop-down menu, and they can choose technical training all the way up to post advanced beyond 4-year degree, military service, or entering the workforce. One thing that you will notice if you download this, you will see these little edit buttons. So anytime there are drop-down menus, that is designed to be edited if you need to or want to by the counselor. So if you wanted to add different options or whatever, you would be able to do that. And then finally, the student has space to identify types of institutions that they should research. And maybe they don't know, and it's okay at that point to just type, I don't know. Again, running reflections because we always want them to think about things that they should be doing to get ready and be prepared for that career. Throughout this template, you will notice these little heads up boxes, and these are just like extra tips or information for the student as it relates to the particular tab. This next tab is actually what we call the Game Plan Activities tab, and it always provides instructions, and the information is written in a very student-friendly language. But this is where students would actually upload that evidence of learning. So they would identify the activity that they completed, the category that the activity was a part of, career exploration, financial literacy, essential skills, or post-secondary opportunities, the grade level, and then they would click here and then just upload the file from their Google Drive. Again, always space for reflection and the big idea that they're taking away. This particular piece is designed for classes and academic planning. This is something that's important to ILP completion because it's important that students think about early on what their pathway should look like. So this particular sheet is designed to be completed in ninth grade. There is space for students to add middle school courses that are relevant to their high school preparation. But ideally, this would be completed in ninth grade. And the goal is that they would complete in ninth grade their classes for their entire high school career. Again, can be changed. This is not something that's concrete. This is a document that lives with the student and can be modified at any time. But the reason that this particular piece is important is it's important for students to see early on the progression of courses that they need, depending on the career that they're interested in. So let's say they're interested in being an electrician. So this gives them an opportunity to really plan and think about the courses that they need related to electricity that they could take while in high school, and gives them an opportunity to think about dual credit opportunities that maybe they could use to help meet those post-secondary credentials. Again, the heads up talks about what EPSOs are and how they can help students be better prepared for that transition to post-secondary. There's space for them to document their ACT or SAT scores. And there is also space for them to track any credential of value that they've earned while in high school. For example, industry certifications, dual credit certificates, etc. And a note to talk to your CTE teacher if you need help with this. The My Extracurriculars tab gives them an opportunity to keep track of any clubs, organizations, sports teams, community service, volunteer opportunities, work-based learning, etc. The dates that they start and finished, the essential skills that they gained. Again, drop-down menu, you have an opportunity to edit. Always space for that self-reflection. And always space in this particular instance for them to upload any related documents. For example, let's say they received a certificate for an extracurricular opportunity that they participated in. They could make a copy of that certificate and upload it here. And keeping track of club sponsors, coaches, etc. is always important because we know that these people can be helpful in becoming part of that student's network, which we'll talk about in a little bit here in just a minute. We also know that this is important when it comes time for students to complete resumes, or scholarship applications, college applications, etc., because they may think they can remember the start and end date for these clubs, organizations, and work experiences and community service. But sometimes we know that that doesn't always happen. So having this here that they can track from 6th through 12th grade is always helpful. The final tab is the My Social Capital or Network tab. And this is really a tab that's designed to allow students to really start building their network. And it talks about here on the front end about why network is important. There's even a video that they can watch that really shows them what social capital, building social capital looks like. And it talks about why networks are important. These people can serve as references for letters of recommendation, etc. There's a place for them to drop any letters of recommendation or place to drop letters of recommendation or other files that might be useful. But it gives them an opportunity to actually build out that network. So, writing down names of friends, teachers, church members, admissions counselors, people that they meet that might be potential future employers. And in 6th grade, their network may just be friends and teachers and church members. But as they progress from middle school to high school, their network should become more robust. We want them to always think about how that person can help them in their education and career journey, so they can type that here. And then we want them to always think about how that networking happened and how they connected with that person. So again, there's a drop down menu that would give them an opportunity to change or to select their particular networking experience. And again, an opportunity for you as a counselor to edit that. I want to go back to the classes tab because I failed to mention, as students are filling in their classes, we have provided an opportunity for you as a counselor or a leader of this work to edit and type in, for example, if you had in 9th grade, your options were English 1, English 1 CP, whatever you had as English options, you could populate that so that students could choose the appropriate course and wouldn't have to type it in. If you did not want to do that and you wanted students to type in the course and not have the drop down selection, you can just go into edit and just delete that rule. So it's very simple. But we thought that some counselors might prefer having the option of pre-populating before they shared this out to students. There is a tutorial that accompanies this, so it talks about those kinds of things and how important it is to make sure that students know that when they make a copy of this, that they need to share it with their advisor or whomever, and talks about how, as they move, or if they move schools even, how they can change ownership of this and take this document with them because it is their document. So I'm assuming that Susie is monitoring the chat. But again, if you have questions, comments, or anything that you want to drop in the chat, we would certainly welcome those. And I'm going to pull back up. Well, let me stop sharing here for just a second so that I can get back to the right screen. Give me just a second.
We did have a question,
Okay,
Mitzi,
perfect.
about does this work by chance tie into a learning management system? That's from Angie.
Mhm.
Um,
So it's designed to be used with Futurity, which is the Kentucky specific platform. But you can use it to support an existing system that you are using. Like if you are using a paid platform, then you could use this in conjunction with that to supplement and support the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
All right, here we go. Got too many tabs open and I'm trying to make sure I get to the right one so that you all don't have to look at. All right. So as you um, have an opportunity to really kind of dive into the scope and sequence and play around with it, just want to reiterate that it is intentionally aligned to futurity. It is intentionally aligned to ILP completion. It is aligned to the Kentucky Career Studies standards and the financial literacy standards. And it is designed to be able to serve as a foundation for advising in your schools, to provide consistency and to promote that school-wide advising culture. Susie mentioned earlier, we know that oftentimes counselors are the leaders of this work, but it is also important that they have buy-in from others in their building so that they can consistently meet the needs of all students when it comes to helping them prepare for their post-secondary journey. We know that utilizing the scope and sequence can support better prepared graduates and a stronger alignment between K-12 workforce and post-secondary. So we certainly hope that you will take some time to explore and look at the scope and sequence in greater detail. If you have questions, we certainly welcome you to email Susie or myself and or Robin Aber. Robin's contacts in on there too. But Susie, if you'll drop your email into the chat.
I did.
Okay, perfect. And then we also want you to join us for a workshop near you. We have several offerings. We are offering one in Ashland on May 27th. You can register. We will share out this PowerPoint so you will have these registration links. In Lexington, May 29th, at Breck, June 1st, and OVEC on June 2nd. So these webinars begin at 9:30, except for Greg, it begins at 9, and they will end by 2 p.m. There will be time for you to leave and have lunch, but we'll spend time together actually looking at the scope and sequence and talking about how the scope and sequence can be implemented and used in your school. So we
I'm
certainly,
just going to jump in really quick.
yes.
As a past school administrator, when we're planning these workshops, we're really thinking about, if you want to implement this for your students in your school or your district next school year, we know that the planning for next year is already underway, probably well underway, if not completed. So we wanted to provide our counselors and our coaches an opportunity to learn more about this and take it back to their leadership team for potential implementation for next year. Because we know if it's not on the school calendar, if it's not on the admin team agenda, that it's probably going to be spotty and kids really need comprehensive advising.
Thank you, Susie. I was looking as you were talking to see if we had any questions. Um, if I've missed something, please, Heather or Susie, let me know. Certainly want to not miss anyone's questions. But again, we encourage you to email us if you do think of a question afterwards. And Heather did drop in the links to those cooperative professional learning opportunities in the chat. As always, we do welcome your feedback and appreciate your feedback. Your feedback from these webinars helps us ensure that we are providing the content and information that is needed to move your work forward. So we would ask that you take a few minutes to complete an evaluation, and there is a QR code you can scan on the screen there. If you need FRISC or ELA credit, this is how you will also receive that certificate. So you must complete this evaluation in order for that certificate to be emailed out. Again, we will share out this slide deck and all the information shared today so that you will have it and you can share with others. If you are able to join us for one of those workshops, and you can bring an administrator or others from your building that would be interested in being a part of a post-secondary advising leadership team in your school to really drive this work forward and enhance your post-secondary advising system, we would welcome those folks too.
Mitzi, we did have a question about
Yes.
in person or is there virtual options? Can you cover that as well?
Yeah, I didn't see that. Sorry. Hold on. So the right now, Amy, those trainings are in person, but we are working on an asynchronous virtual training that would be available online. I do not have an end date for that at the moment, but right now, the trainings that we have scheduled are in person. Again, we certainly appreciate your all's time today. We always enjoy spending time with you all and appreciate everything that you all do for our Kentucky students and helping them be prepared for their post-secondary journey. We certainly hope that you all have a great day, and we know that you all are winding down the school year, so we hope that you have a smooth ending and a wonderful summer. We will have a webinar on May, let me get the right date, May the 26th, I believe, that we would certainly welcome you to join. And then we do have one scheduled for June. So we certainly welcome you all and look forward to seeing you again during those times. Thank you all so much and have a great rest of your day.